All right, let's go to Jamie in Atlanta, Georgia. Jamie, what's going on?
What's going on, Dr. John?
Just rocking and rolling, brother. How can I help?
So I guess we'll dive right in.
Let's do it, man.
So about 5 years ago, I was on drugs really bad with my son's mother, and they were all the fun things. They're not really fun. That's a really bad joke. She was able to quit. I was not able to quit at the time. I couldn't do it. And so things got progressively worse. She left, which was definitely the right move to make. She left, and I was still in Georgia, and she left and went back to Wisconsin, which we moved from there to here, and I moved from here to there before all of that. And I ended up going to jail several times, and in one of those times going, I was able to have what we call a vital spiritual experience. That was enough to this day, I have not found it necessary to take any mind-altering substance.
Awesome.
For the past 3 years.
Good for you, man. So you're 36 months in?
Yeah. Well, over that. It's September 22nd, 2017.
Dude, congratulations, brother. That's a big deal, man.
Hold
on. You have to acknowledge that. That's a big deal. Right?
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
So I've done everything. I will work at a big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it says in there, we write an honest letter if they won't hear us. Mm-hmm. So I wrote an honest letter, talked to her multiple times, and every time, even in the times where she's like, so our son is 4 now, and I've never seen him. I was in jail when he was born. She moved back up to Wisconsin for good reason. I was incredibly abusive.
Okay.
It's just every time she says, it's always the same response. It's gotten to the point where it's always the same response. It's, you've never seen him. You're just a sperm donor. He has a dad now. We don't need you. You're not even a part of his life.
Okay.
And then the last time I sent a letter, I wrote a letter out. I had people proofread it, make sure that I wasn't saying anything offensive or too selfish or anything like that. But just, she responded back at first with, because I pay child support. I'm up to date on child support. I make sure, as I'm supposed to, because it's the right thing to do. It's what I want to do.
That's right.
She said, well, if you go to court, you'll get drug tests, but you'll probably get visitation. That's the best I can do. And I was about to say, okay or something, and then she responds back with, how her parents left her because she was adopted, and her parents never got off drugs and never came to go see her. And she voiced that to me, along with all the other things, too, which I have 100% admitted that is what it is. And I've told her, I was like, look, I will go to a counselor. I will tell them everything that I did to you. Every wrong, I'll tell everything that I did to anything else. If we got to do that, that'll be fine. And then all of it's to no avail. The closest thing was her saying to go through the court system. So, I'm just kind of at an impasse with it. I've talked to plenty of people about it, and it's just.
So what is the common advice you're getting?
Well, it's actually none of it's common, to be honest with you. It's all different. A lot, like my sponsor is like, man, you need to just pray about it and let God work that out. You've done the best. You pulled your end of the bargain or whatever, and I don't feel that that's sufficient. And then I have another person who says, Jamie, you need to be ready to. You've never been a part of this child's life or anything like that. Are you ready and willing to accept it if you are not allowed to be? If this is not your place? And I said yes, and I guess yes is the thing, but have I explored every avenue? You know what I mean?
Right.
Is that really the final answer here? Is that I don't is it me being selfish? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's something that I rack my brain with all the time.
Brother, listen, there's not a selfish, that's the wrong word when it comes to your kid, right? Parents who are selfish with their kids, right? If you were still using and that kid lived with you, if you were blowing rent on, partying with your buddies or whatever, then that would be selfish. Wanting to track down your son after you've been healed for 3 years, or you learn some new ways of getting through some of the hard stuff in life. seeking forgiveness. That's not selfish. That's you chasing your son. Okay? So just in the few things you've told me, your wife, man, she's got demons from when she was a kid that I don't blame her for a second for, right? She had parents that walked out on her. She's lived that road. Who knows the trauma she's carrying on in her heart and mind? I don't blame her for a second. You said you're abusive. Tell me about that.
I was both physically and verbally abusive.
Okay. Did she ever call the police on you? Is that why you went to jail? Or did you go to jail for using?
No. Okay. No, she never did. I went to jail for using after we had moved down here, and she had left. You know, she gave me the ultimatum. You know, she told me at one point, I remember, this is my part of the supreme sacrifice. You know, she said, you know, if you could just quit, you know, everything would be all right. And, you know, I made that promise, and 30 minutes later, it's like it says, you know, I couldn't bring into sufficient memory the pain of a week or a month ago, and before I knew it, it was already too late. Yeah. And I had gone back to doing what I had always done since for a long time.
So why did you get clean, man?
But at first, you know, I was sentenced to drug court, so I couldn't leave the state for the first year and a half, 2 years. And I just had a guy listen to me out front of the clubhouse that I stayed at. That was my home group for a long time. And he listened to me, and, you know, I was just offered, a lot of it's God's grace, man. Like, I can't explain it any other way.
No. But not how. Why? Why are you clean now?
Because I'm sick of it, man.
Yeah.
And now I have something that works. You know what I mean? Like, I 100% believe that at that point in time, I was powerless and I was a slave. I was an absolute slave to everything that I was doing. I had no way to work through it, and nor could I see if there was a way. Right. And today, you know, I've been given, somebody sat down and worked with me and gave me the power to take control of my life and to live by principles that don't allow for excuses and that don't allow for me to go back to that way. Okay. No matter how hard it is, no matter whether I'm crying on the floor, wondering why, or anything like that. Like, I don't ever have to go back to that today. And so I choose that, you know what I mean? I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh, nope, this is way, way better. You know what I mean? Absolutely.
So here's the bottom line. If I'm you and I have my little boy out there, I'm going to move heaven and earth to try to see my boy. And at this point, he does have a man who stepped up in his life. I'm assuming she's remarried now. Is that fair?
Well, we were never married.
Okay. Is she married now?
I do not know.
Okay.
I don't think so, but I don't know.
Okay. You mentioned she had a dad in his life now.
Yeah, her adoptive parents took care of her.
Okay.
You know, she has a very good support group.
Did you sign custody over for him?
I did while I was in jail.
Okay. So without getting into your backstory too deeply, we would need some time to sit down and go through this. Here's what I'm telling you what I would do. There are a few things on planet Earth more important to me than my son. And I would move heaven and earth to do that. There's a part of me that thinks that your wife still loves you and cares about you, but you beat her up, man. You scared her, you left her alone, and that fear, it's not even a fear, those memories, those experiences override any feeling she has. And at some point it feels like she's asking you, I'm going to see how far you're going to go.
Right.
And so what I'm telling you, this may not be the most sound legal advice. This may not be the most sound big book advice. Okay? I'm just telling you guy to guy what I would do. And I've got a young son myself. I would call every lawyer I could find. I would do whatever I had to do to be in my son's life. I would be sending my son probably a weekly letter. And now you're playing both a short game and a long game, okay? Number one, at some point you're going to have this conversation more than once with your son about who you used to be. And you want to have a track record where I chased you to the ends of the earth. I wrote you every week. I screwed up. Your dad was sick. Your dad was acting the fool that your dad didn't have the right tools. And who knows what your trauma is like. You may be able to teach him a lot about what you experienced as a young guy, right? All that to say is that will come over time. So you're playing a long relational game. What you're aiming for right now is that when you're 50 and he's, 30, 35, that y'all are hanging out together, that you get to go see your grandkids, okay? You're not shooting for everything to be rosy and hunky-dory, because this 4-year-old little boy has no idea who you are, right? And
Correct.
so I want to constantly be reaching out to him, and his mom is right to protect him right now. And but you can't control what she does. You can control what you do. So I want to write a letter to him every week and mail it to him, and hopefully she'll read it to him. And or as he gets older, he'll read it. You can draw him pictures, whatever that's going to look like for him. The second thing is, man, I'd be on the phone with a lawyer tomorrow and say, man, I screwed up. I signed over stuff when I was in jail, and I want to go meet my son. And I honestly, you're talking between states. You're talking, I don't know what your full criminal history is. I don't know any of that stuff. And so I don't know the legal ramifications, how that would actually get together. If you would have to move to Wisconsin to have, I don't know any of that stuff. What I'm telling you, what I would do is whatever I had to do to hold my son, right? And then just know it's going to be a slow process of rebuilding trust. And those days are going to feel agonizingly slow. You're going to have seasons where you weep. You're going to have seasons where you want to punch a hole in something. And you're going to have to constantly be practicing those new skills that you've picked up over the last 37, 38 months, right? Mm-hmm. And you're playing a long game. You're raising a man, and you're both healing, and you're healing one too, right? At the same time.
Right.
So tell me why you want to see your son again, man. It's not again. Why you want to see him, period? You signed away your name. You said, he's better off without me. I'm out. Why do you want into his life?
Because even if, at that time, even if my thought was he's better off without me, even today, even if he has a new dad, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not there to interject in between all that. That's literally the last thing I want to do. It's not. But if there's ever a time where they can't do something, you know what I mean? I'm not challenging their capacity to take care of him. Mm-hmm. But if there's ever a time where it might be useful for somebody who has the proper motivation to show up when nobody else is able to show up, I can do that. I have that motivation. You know what I mean? I really feel that. You know what I mean? Like, I know that I messed up in that sense. I understand it. I've worked through it. I put it on paper. I see it. Yeah. I own that. But, it never hurts to have somebody who would drop everything they're doing. If I'm at work, if I got to fly up there, if there's a hospital thing, if there, you know what I mean? If there's a COVID,
hold on. Hey, listen. You're giving me a bunch of things. You're giving me a bunch of tasks. You're giving me a bunch of achievements, a bunch of accomplishments. Those are all good, man. They're all noble. But when somebody asks you, hey, why do you want to see your son? I want to hear you say, because I love that kid. I've never even met him. Because there's a piece of my heart beating out there somewhere in Wisconsin, and I got to meet him. I got to know him, and I got to love him. And I got to make sure that he never goes to bed at night not knowing that his daddy loves him. Right? And those other things that you mentioned, those are all derivatives of that, right? Because you love him, because you got a piece of your heart beating somewhere else out in the universe, that's why you're going to show up, right? That's why you're going to go see a lawyer and probably have to work overtime to pay for that or pick up a second job to cover that cost. That's why you're going to have to get in front of a jury or in front of a judge and say the things out loud that you did, right? And you're going to have to risk being told by a judge you cannot see your son, right?
Right.
And that's all a risk, and that's all scary. That's all freak out time, right? But all of that is the why is because I want to see my son. Right?
Yeah.
I want to see my son. I love him. And I never have even seen him. And that's going to be what drives you over the long term. And here's the thing, my promise to you, brother. Let's say the judge says no. Like, I can't relieve that past. I can't put that trauma back on mom. I don't know that that's the case. I would doubt it, but who knows? There will come a day when he comes looking for who his dad is. There will come a day. Technology has gotten to a point where he's going to do 23andMe. He's going to get on Facebook. He's going to figure out who dad is, right? And I want there for y'all I want there to be a track record. Like I said earlier, I want there to be a breadcrumb trail right back to your heart that said, I wrote you a letter every week for 14 years before you turned 18 and were allowed to come see me. I saved money for your college, and I never even got to see you for 18 years. But I knew that there was going to come a day when you were going to come meet me, and I wanted to be able to at least, you may not want to talk to me at all, but I want you to know when all else burns to the ground, your daddy loved you. And your dad was a wreck and a mess and a broken guy. And I'm healed and I'm whole. And hey, look, I'm married now. I got kids, whatever your situation is. But son, I kept chasing you and I kept chasing you and I kept chasing you. Right? So yeah, man, I'm on the phone today. I'm on the phone first thing, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, trying to get a lawyer that I can afford, that's going to be excellent, that's not going to go to war with my wife. I mean, my ex, right, with my son's mom. I'm not going to war. I'm not trying to burn anything down. But I want to find out every option I've got to go see my son. And here's the thing I want to keep in your heart and mind. Be honest every step of the way. I want to applaud you for your honesty here, for your healing. You got to move forward. You did some stuff that was ugly and despicable and gross. I'm not going to beat you up for it, you know. And now it's about putting the bricks down, brother, and then running off into the light, right? Running forward. So, man, I love your heart, Jamie. Go find him and go find your son. If you are able to check in with him, I want you to give me a shout back. I want to know how that reunion goes. If you're not able to, give me a call back and we'll walk through what next, right? Because these things don't always have a pot of gold at the end of this rainbow, man. Sometimes these things do not have a happy ending. So thank you so much for your call, brother.